with you live on the sound of New Start 93 FM. The program is Straight Up. I am Marlon Morgan, and in this segment, listeners, we are putting the spotlight on the Jamaica Teaching Council. You will appreciate that in recent weeks, there was a debate in the upper house, the Senate of Jamaica, where the JTC bill was in sharp focus, and that debate culminated in the passage in the upper house of the bill. We have joining us this morning the Chief Executive Officer of the Jamaica Teaching Council, Dr. Winsome Gordon. Good morning, Dr. Gordon.
Good morning, Mr. Morgan.
Welcome to Straight Up. Thanks for making yourself available to us.
And thank you for having me on the show.
Very well. All right, so Dr. Gordon, for starters, give our listeners a sense as to what the Jamaica Teaching Council is, what its mandate entails, to particularly for those who may not be so apprised.
The Jamaica Teaching Council is an outcome of an international review team. That team worked jointly with experts in Jamaica in the 2000s and produced a report in 2004, a thorough report. And they recommended the establishment of a council essentially to advance the teaching profession and sustain effectiveness in the profession, ensuring all children can learn, all children will learn. Today, the Jamaica Teaching Council has been operating for over 19 years, and it has in its mandate a regulatory dimension, a professional development dimension, a recognition of awards, and performance, a recognition of performance in the profession. So we give awards.
Yeah.
And finally, the collaboration with the regional and international community to ensure that the teaching profession remains on the cutting edge. And I think we have been doing that. People have been coming after our teachers because of our teachers have been exposed and how we have worked with them.
Indeed.
That's essentially what the council is all about.
When you say people are coming after, you're speaking of prospective recruiters from overseas. Yeah.
Canada, UK, America. Because they are losing their teachers.
Yeah.
And they have come to Jamaica, send their recruiters with some candies, which our teachers find out when they get abroad, when they get there are no candies really. And they get back to the council. They come straight back to the council because the council has to assist them to get the licenses where they are. Because in those countries, teachers' license is not a joke.
Indeed. So the same thrust of the Jamaica Teaching Council in the Jamaican context, what you're saying is that some of these jurisdictions, the very countries to which many of our teachers migrate in pursuit of teaching opportunities, such as the UK, Canada, and of course the United States, these jurisdictions have in place their respective teaching councils?
The licensing process, some of them don't call them councils, they have different names.
So they have a regime though, a licensing regime?
Yes, they have a special regime that carries out the same task.
Very well. All right. Now, for those listeners who would have heard, by the way, that, this thing has been some 20 or so years in coming, what can you share with them as to why it would have taken us all of, 6 or so education ministers at different points in time, of course, and these past 2 decades to get to where we are, where the bill was debated, at least in one of the houses of parliament, and ultimately passed? What took us so long?
Well, from the very inception, after the Jamaica Teachers Association and the Teaching Council together revised the framework, we together decided that it would be a consultative process. And education has a wide range of stakeholders, as you would have seen from the presentation to the Joint Select Committee. And we have to respond to those stakeholders. At the same time, the changes of administration added some time because each new administration want to be here on the processes. You know, new person, they come in.
So to bring himself up to speed with the brief, yeah.
We have to restart. The negotiations have restarted about 2 or 3 times. And now we're saying, government, this is yours. It is your responsibility to see that the teachers of Jamaica are accountable to the parents of Jamaica and the children. And we have come to that stage where it is time for government to take over.
Do you find, Dr. Gordon, because you said something just now which I find very instructive, it aligns with some thoughts of mine as well. Do you find that commentary and approaches that come to this discussion on the JTC bill in particular from the standpoint where it would suggest that teachers are the only stakeholders, or they view this bill through the prism of teachers only, do you find that that kind of reality does this entire discussion a disservice?
Yes. Without parents, we don't exist. Without the children, we don't exist. So although as teachers we are key stakeholders, we deliver the education, to the new upcoming generation, we must respect their position as stakeholders.
Indeed.
And all the other stakeholders, the churches, for example, the churches played a major role in the education, the development of education in Jamaica. In fact, our children are going to high school before British children. So we cannot dismiss these stakeholders as if they are not important. We have to listen to them. And in the process of consultation, we listen to all our stakeholders, including the UWI, the UTEC, the colleges of Jamaica, the private schools, the churches, the independent schools. Educators. We listened to everyone and then revised and updated the bill. I have all the different drafts of the bill. I have them from the first bill. I have them. And we have made the changes. There are some changes that would not be fair to the country or to the profession, and we can't make those changes. And one of them is to name JTA in the bill.
All right, what is the challenge the framers of this bill have with specifically naming? And I'm speaking here, Dr. Gordon, to Part B of the third or the second schedule under item 1, where it sets out the members of the Board of Governors. At Part D, and I'm reading the text of the bill for the benefit of the listeners, it says here, 6 registered teachers nominated by an association recognized by the minister as representing the majority of teachers in Jamaica, 4 of whom shall be licensed to practice as teachers under this act. So it doesn't specifically name the JTA, and the question is, why not? Share with our listeners.
Because we must be open to new and emerging associations. We're going into a completely new era. So the door must be left open for a teacher or a group of teachers who may want to start an association. So we can't name an association in the legislation. Although we respect that association, we consult with that association, we cooperate with that association, but not to be named in the bill.
Because circumstances, you're saying, may change from time to time, and the truth is, there may come a time when an organization other than the incumbent and the existing Jamaica Teachers Association may come to be representative of the majority of the nation's public teachers.
Yes, and we have to allow for that. But in our practice, we work very closely with the JTA in practice.
Indeed. All right. So Dr. Gordon, one of the vexing issues for members of the teaching fraternity is the whole the composition as it is in this piece of legislation of the Jamaica Teaching Council. There are at present some 19 slots, as it were, that will be afforded teachers. Share with us as to what the concerns of the teachers are in this regard, because they are positing that invariably, whereas other professions such as the doctors and the nurses, for example, and the engineers, yes, the lawyers get to superintend their profession, they are positing that they as teachers are not getting to superintend their profession based on what is proposed there in terms of the composition of the Board of Governors.
Well, we have to look at the customers of the doctors and the nurses. You choose your doctor. The doctor doesn't choose you. You choose your doctor. You choose your hospital.
The same
you choose your
applies to
nurses.
an attorney at law.
Pardon?
And the same applies in relation to the services of counsel, an attorney at
Yes.
law.
So, but the children do not choose their teachers. Their teachers are chosen for them. The parents, they're told who will teach their children. And because of the kind of profession we have to give respect and the space to our stakeholders. And in this, the board, we have 61.29% teachers. It says that a decision for teachers can be made by teachers because the percentage of teachers on the board is higher than any of the other stakeholders. So there is really no reason for that discourse.
And for the absolute clarity and benefit of our listeners, Dr. Gordon, I'm going to go through and essentially enumerate the composition of the Jamaica Teaching Council as per the legislation before me. It says here, the head of the division responsible for school services in the ministry with responsibility for education. And that person by necessity will be a teacher.
Must be a registered teacher.
Because this is essentially the chief education officer.
Yes.
Very well. The second person on the board, the second person will be the chief executive officer, listeners, of the Child Protection and Family Services Agency. The other person will be the individual to whom we're speaking, at least at this point, the chief executive officer of the council. Yes. And that person also must be a registered
teacher.
Very well. So those are two teachers. At Part D, 6 registered teachers nominated by an association recognized by the minister, the one we read out earlier. So it would be the 2 plus 6. Part E says here, Section E says here, there you go.
JTA.
These are the JTA, as it is now, the JTA nominees to the council, no, sir?
Yes,
all
that's right.
E says here, Dr. Gordon, 4 individuals, and in bracket it says, 3 of whom shall be registered and licensed teachers. Yes, being representatives of a university that is registered in Jamaica. So essentially the UTech phenomenon. These are 4 individuals, but 3 of them must be registered and licensed teachers. So we write down 3 here, sir. All right. 3 representatives of an institution that provides teacher education. So this is like our teachers' colleges. So they are not universities, but they provide teacher education. And it says here, Dr. Gordon, 2 of whom shall be registered and licensed teachers. So that is 2. We'll put down 2. Proceeding, it goes on to say 4 nominees of a person who or body that the minister recognizes as representative of religious denominations which own educational institutions in Jamaica. You know, the Baptists, the Anglicans, the Methodists, you name it,
Church of God.
And it says here, Dr. Gordon, very well, of whom at least 2 nominees shall be registered and licensed teachers. So we write down 2 again there, so. This part goes on to the parents now, and that's understandable. These are not specifically teachers, because it says 4 nominees of bodies appearing to the minister to be representative, listeners, of the interests of parents one of whom shall be a representative of parents who engage in the instruction of children by way of an approved home education program, so like our folks who elect to homeschool their children, and one of whom shall be a representative of a parent support group for mentally and physically challenged children, because as we know, special education is an area of focused attention, and we have to have due regard to our children, Dr. Gordon, with special needs. No, sir?
Yes.
And it goes on here to say, 2 nominees of bodies appearing to the minister to be representative of the interests of independent schools like Hydel and others. It says here, not owned by a religious denomination. One nominee shall be a registered and licensed teacher. So I'm write down the number 1 there, sir. It goes on to identify a couple skill sets, listeners, that of an attorney at law and someone with knowledge and experience in finance or public administration. So there are 2 nominees there. One is a person with finance and admin skill sets, public admin skill sets, and another who has legal skill sets, an attorney at law. And then the last provision here, the last stipulation says, 3 teachers who are registered and licensed and recognized for outstanding performance in education. So I write down the 3 there, Dr. Gordon. So when I tally now, like Mr. Tallyman tallying the banana, I get 2 plus 6, which is 8, 8 plus 3, which is 11, 11 plus 2, which is 13, 13 plus 2, which brings me to 15, 15 plus 1, which brings me to 16, 16 plus 3, Dr. Winsome Gordon, which brings me to the number 19. So of the 31 member Jamaica Teaching Council, 19 of them are invariably teachers.
Yes.
And you're saying when you did the arithmetic, that 19 gave you how much percent?
61.29. And JTA is the largest proportion of that group, because they have 6 teachers of the 19.
Yeah.
They have 6 teachers. And the other 13 divided among the various groups.
And as we know, those are teachers as well. And so, Dr. Gordon, we're in Education Week. To start out Education Week, we had the church service. But on Monday, the Jamaica Teachers Association took to their Church Street HQ, and they essentially held a meeting which culminated, I gather, in a press briefing where the JTA, through its president, Dr. Mark Smith, among other things, mentioned that the Jamaica Teaching Council bill in its current form is a betrayal of our nation's teachers. What say you in relation to any such characterization, Dr. Gordon, of this JTC bill before us?
The first thing is that I don't understand betrayal. I don't understand why JTA, what constitutes betrayal to the JTA. I understand how we operate with teachers, and our teachers don't use those emotive words to describe JTC. JTC is a place they come to for help. JTC provides the hours of professional development for them annually. Now we have made sure that they can get professional development in their own time. We have our LMS, we have our Zoom platforms, we have Zoom rooms, we work with mentors, we train mentors to ensure that our new teachers are mentored when they go into the school system. We provide emotional support. We provide emotional support for our teachers. We have a special program that provides the welfare of teaching. It's called the Heart of Teaching.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. And that Heart of Teaching is a counseling service support for teachers that they can come to when they want to. We recognize excellence annually, thanks to LASCO. Mr. Chin himself helped us to introduce that award in 1997 in honor of his teacher. It's not about LASCO business. It is in honor of his teacher. Now, I don't know how any organization carry out that kind of support for the profession. an agency could say, oh, that organization is betraying teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And the separation, the only area that is different and is not going to be vastly different is the licensing of teachers.
So just to be clear,
we support teachers.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Dr. Gordon, what you're saying is that based on the body of work under your stewardship, under your superintendence as CEO of the JTC thus far, yes, and based on the examples that you just shared with us, it is quite evident that as opposed to victimizing teachers or doing anything that would be inimical to the interest of teachers, the Jamaica Teaching Council is in the business of developing and supporting our nation's teachers. Is that what you're saying on this morning?
Yes, and not only that, we collaborate with international bodies such as the International Society for Technology in Education, AMS University in Finland, and the EU who has cooperated with us. They have all cooperated with us to provide quality ICT education for teachers.
Mm-hmm.
During COVID, in 3 weeks, we trained over 20,000 teachers to prepare for the transition. We did that.
Yeah.
And whenever there's a challenge to the teachers, they can depend on us. We are going to get the support wherever in the world we can get it, from Commonwealth Secretariat, CAL, OAS, British Council, IDB, World Bank, CARICOM.
Yeah.
We get the support anywhere we can find it to ensure the quality of service of our teachers. That is why the recruiters is on our country.
Indeed. And in the 2 minutes we have remaining, Dr. Gordon, I wanted to just share with my listeners on the score of teachers who may have grosses or, the track record in the system vis-a-vis the ventilation of, matters by way of the appeals tribunal. Share with my listeners in the 2 minutes we have left in that regard.
Teachers will have grosses if they are usually when they are fired. Usually when the board dismisses them. The board says you have to leave, then they appeal to the tribunal.
Mm-hmm.
The appeal may come through the Jamaica Teachers Association, or it might just come through the individual with the individual's lawyer, or without a lawyer. When that appeal comes, it is treated, first thing, it's very important, with great importance. All the research that needs to be done, the research is done by the lawyers. The tribunal, when they come before the tribunal, documentation is there on both sides. So the teachers are fairly dealt with by the tribunal. And I must say JTA has been an advocate for members of its profession.
Mm-hmm. As a
JTA, yes, and that is fair. That's what they're about.
Yeah.
And JTA is one of the 3 persons on the tribunal. JTA representatives is one of the 3 persons on the tribunal. So the tribunal is very fair. Very fair.
All right.
Yes.
There was so much more that we could have unpacked in this discussion, particularly the issue of these fines. But in 20 seconds, do you want to share with us on the vexing issue of the fines, Dr. Gordon?
Well, very quickly, I tell you, the registration of teachers, the registration of a teacher is required in the law that was approved, that was instituted in 1965. In the Act, the Education Act, it says you shall not teach in the classroom unless you're a registered teacher. Today, in 2025, we have teachers who are teaching who are not registered teachers, and they are aware, and they don't. We have to be going after them to say, Mister, you are not to be in our classroom if you're not a registered teacher, because the registration guarantees that at least this person has a suitable qualification. Is this person fit and proper to be in the classroom with people's children?
Indeed.
All no. Right. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine putting a license in place that does not deter
or have
people
a
from
element.
contravening the process? At the same time, the punishment that you see there is generally related to criminal activities, and the The disqualifying offences are listed, they are attached, they are in the Act.
All right.
Disqualified offences are listed, and those disqualifying offences are the same for everywhere in Jamaica.
All right, so we do note that, Dr. Gordon. There's so much more, as I said, that we could have touched on, but we really, really want to thank you for your time this morning and for helping the public to better appreciate what some of the issues are and to better understand what are some of the provisions in the bill and why the provisions as proposed are as they are.
I thank you very much, and as I've said, it is now in the hands of the government of Jamaica.
Very well.
And the government of Jamaica serves the people of Jamaica and assure the upbringing of the younger generation.
All right, so let me wish for you, Dr. Gordon, a happy Teachers' Day, by the way, and I bid the same to all our teachers across the length and breadth of Jamaica.
Thank you very much. Once a teacher, always a teacher.
Very well. Thank you so much. So we go to the break and take the NPR news at the top of the hour. Stay